some senses, there is, of course, truths to the experience and feeling of Indians in America, that's the NRI Indians, that they didn't know much about their own religions or their own traditions, as they put it, or like Hinduism, for example, when they came to the United States. But the problem is, what exactly does this problem signify? Because the normal conclusion that Indian parents draw from their ignorance or their alleged ignorance about their own traditions when they come to America is by saying that, look, while if I were to be in India, or at least were I to compare myself to my nephews and nieces in India, then I know as much as they do, but then that's because knowledge of Hinduism is dying out. And thanks to this or that organization or swami, I learnt about Hindu tradition in the United States. Now, this is one plausible way of looking at it, but I think this is the wrong way. The other way of looking at it is to realize that America or Europe, or predominantly or basically Christian countries, or at least influenced by Christian cultures. So when they ask the Indians, why do you wear bindi? What is your holy book? Who is your God? Or who are your gods? And so on. These questions are not merely questions in order to understand Indian traditions, but to understand Indian traditions in a particular way, namely the way they are familiar with, which is one of Christianity. So when Indians succumb to the pressure of these questions, they are succumbing basically to the environment that is Christian in nature. So they fail, of course, in giving a suitable Christian answer to these questions, and therefore they end up forcing their children to go to Bal Vihar, Sunday schools, immerse themselves in learning so-called scriptures of Hinduism, and imposing all kinds of disciplines on the children. But the point is, this problem can be solved, or this issue could be addressed, if they begin to understand that their difficulty arises from their ignorance not of Indian traditions so much as it does from their ignorance of Western culture. Why people ask these kind of questions in the Western culture? What is the impact of Christianity on the Western culture? What exactly is Christianity itself? So we want to ask these questions, and then a new way perhaps would open up, which would allow not merely for them to continue Indian traditions in the United States of America in a more reasonable way, but perhaps also interest their children to participate in continuing and transmitting Indian traditions. Otherwise, they end up doing as some American parents do, or the NRI parents do, who I know. For instance, they forbid the children from eating pizzas on Thursdays or Fridays because, for instance, onions is not supposed to be eaten on Thursdays and Fridays. Now, or for example, the children confront in dating girls and boys of their own age in high school. Now, I think to understand and solve these kind of problems, namely living as an Indian and, if you like, as a Hindu in the United States, it is not so much imperative to understand Hinduism, but to understand the Western culture and Christianity itself.